Have you ever lost internet connections? Whenever I get bad Wi-Fi, not only the internet is lost, suddenly I feel lost too. What should I do now? Why not read some interesting research papers? Hi everyone, my name is Chen, a PhD student from the University of Sydney. Together with Amir Valadkhani and Dr. Mohsen Ramezani, we actually spent a lot of time to think what should be done when a large-scale communication shutdown happens, but not for people, for an autonomous taxi fleet. This video is an abstract for our published paper in Transportation Research Part C. Someday in the future, self-driving cars will be running on our streets. Even at this moment, some autonomous vehicles, taxis, buses are conducting driving tests in cities like Shenzhen and Shanghai in China, San Francisco and Phoenix in the USA. If a company wants to manage a fleet of autonomous taxis, usually there is a central unit processing the online orders and telling every taxi exactly where they should go to pick up the passenger. But nothing is perfect. What if the central unit broke down? What if the company server is hacked? What if the communication just doesn't work for some unknown reasons? The autonomous taxis are now as bland as bats. They don't get the passenger orders from the central unit anymore. Should they randomly roam around the city, hoping to get some lucky passengers? That doesn't sound so intelligent, does it? Our goal is to decide where the taxis should go and how to get there, so the passengers can still hail a taxi from roadside. If you think autonomous taxis sound too futuristic, you can also treat our method as a recommendation system for normal taxis, but all the drivers must work together to pick up as many passengers as possible. Before we decide where the taxis should go, let's talk about how they should move between 2 points. There are so many paths connecting 2 points in a network. We don't want the fastest path, not the closest distance, not the safest neighborhoods, although safety is very important. We want a path with the most passengers. But is that good enough? If you are a taxi driver, based on your experience, you know the Kangaroo Mall and the Koala Park have roughly the same number of passengers. But people from the park are usually tourists and may go to very far places where it's very difficult to get more passengers. Meanwhile, people from the shopping mall may go to residential areas where it's much easier to find new customers. You see, the choice is not a simple comparison. You need to make some smart guesses for the path you take. In our research, we apply an algorithm called PageRank to represent the attractiveness of a road, which is essentially the ability to find consecutive passengers. Now we know how to move from point A to point B smartly. The question is, where is this point B? It is risky to select only one road out of 10,000 roads. What if everyone chooses the same destination? The roads will become very congested. So we use the attractiveness score to divide the city into regions. Every region has a similar level of attractiveness. Now, autonomous taxis can choose where they want to go from these different regions. But there are so many regions. Which one exactly should we choose? Our solution is not so straightforward because we don't want a simple rule for everyone to prevent them from choosing the same region, which also leads to congestion. We want to know how many taxis are needed in each region based on the number of passengers. But wait, we can't know the number of passengers because the communication system just broke down and the passengers can't even tell us where they are. So, we need to guess how many passengers are in each region and make the optimal decisions accordingly. Our method to do that, in simple words, is to derive a mathematical function for each region based on historical data. It tells us how many passengers can be picked up when we have a certain number of vacant taxis. Therefore, if we can guess the number of passengers, we can decide how many taxis are needed in each region to serve as many passengers as possible. In the end, our method is much better than just going to a random location in the city. more passengers can be served, and their waiting times become shorter. But of course, if nothing bad happens to the central system, everyone's life is much easier. So, long live the internet!